Hi, guys, and welcome to the next episode of Your Incredible Stories. Today, I'm going to speak to amazing lady, Rosenberg, who lost her daughter 4 years ago. Her daughter was 21. She was an amazing girl, Liora. And Lauren will tell us more about the story. So, hi, Lauren.
Hi, thank you, Ivana, for having me today.
Thank you so much for being here. How
No
are you
problem.
today?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Pleased to be a part of your journey and part of your, videos coaching. So you wanted me to explain. Yeah. So 4 years ago, we were just in April 2016. Just having a normal day. It was Easter holidays, first day of the holidays, and I'm just being just a mum, and I've got 5 daughters, and we're just doing busy, looking forward to having a break or the kids off school. My daughter was an artist, so she likes painting, so we went shopping. She went to Tiger shop where you can get all the art and craft, and she was about to do a new painting called Happiness Made in from Home. I think that's what she wanted to do. And so we went shopping with her other sister, and then 3 hours later she ended up in hospital. She was in ambulance, rushed to hospital, and then in intensive care, and then from then on it's got complicated. It turned out that unfortunately she had a tiny little bleed in her brain, but unfortunately so when we got to the hospital, we didn't know what was wrong. She looked a bit confused, but so we were told I wanted her to go to hospital. I had my mother instinct. I felt that something was not quite right. And then so she got into hospital, did some tests. We were told it was okay. She'll just had a tiny little bleed in her brain, but she'll be fine. Unfortunately, she caught pneumonia in hospital, and then the following day we were told that our daughter would die that night. So at the beginning I thought, okay, I have to accept it. This is what's going to happen. That's what the doctor and consultant, top neurologist is saying to me in front of me, saying that she's going to die. And then one of my other daughter, knowing that I work with energy and I can pick up on people's energy, she said to me, no, she's still alive. She's not going to pass away. And then I sort of woke up from the actual shock and realized that I can also start using my own all the techniques that I use on my clients. I can actually apply them on my daughter who's in intensive care and see if we can do something. And then the result of this is, I mean, all the details is in my book, but the result is that she lived another 12 days instead of 2 days, like the consultant said. So we extended her life in that sense. And it got very complicated with the medical and all the things, but I'll leave that if whoever wants to read it in a book. But the reason why I wanted to write a book was not just to tell a story, was very much to make sure that everyone out there who has something, some event, some trauma, anything that happened that is unthinkable, that is completely out of what you could even imagine, that there are ways to help yourself, self-help, yeah, that you know that if you completely crash down and if everything around you, the whole world or life sort of shuts down, that there are ways and techniques that can actually help you to go back up on the track. We can't change the fact that our daughter is no longer here. I can't change that. The whole dynamic, all my kids had to deal with the shock and not having their sister. But what we can change is not carrying that heavy feeling inside, and still be able to love, to carry on living and create a new sort of life in a different dynamic. Because I always say I have 5 children, but obviously I have 4 in the physical world and I have 1 in a spiritual world. But so I wanted to make sure that people could would know how to work on themselves. It doesn't mean that I didn't crash down, doesn't mean that I didn't cry, doesn't mean that I didn't want to stay in my room and not open the door anymore. And the first thing I thought maybe was to shut her bedroom door and no one goes in. And then gradually, you know, I sort of woke up and realized, okay, well, I know how I work on my clients and helping them to get rid of their fear and phobia. So I thought, well, I'm going to work on myself. We did work also in the hospital on ourselves and on my daughter also there. But I started working on myself and then I was okay, it's not a good idea to keep everything the same. We cleared the whole room. Also, my kids could have done with another room instead of sharing. One of my daughters was happy to move into the room once it was all, you know, done up and changed. So, and in a way, it was a very good move because you need to move on. And I have met people. There's no right or wrong. We have to do it when you feel right. But I think having the technique and the base of being a holistic therapist and knowing how to work on people and knowing how to work on myself, and also having practitioners helping at hands helping me, because obviously to keep a license you have to work on yourself. So that also made a big difference. But so there's no right or wrong of when is the right time. But I can see that it's so much lighter that if would have kept her room and shut everything and not touching anything and not so that's the reason why I wanted to write a book. Was there are lots of different ways where you can start helping yourself. And then if you need, obviously, therapy, I don't really like the word therapy. I refer to like help or, you know, or support. People have this connotation of, and that's why I don't like calling myself therapist. I see myself more like a fear and phobia relief expert. I'm an expert in how to shift trapped emotions. I don't like that word therapist because people have a wrong connotation. They think that there's something wrong with them when but it's not. It's just the shock, the emotion trapped in the body. And when the emotion is trapped in the body, then if you don't release it, it can create even more pain, or you can feel down, you can feel depressed. There's a whole range of different things that can come up, or you can start having some anxiety. So it's really learning how to adjust when something unthinkable happens. And that's why I call the book How to Move Forward When the Unthinkable Happens. Because if you don't have the tools, then as hard as it is for me to move forward with what happened, I can't even imagine how people manage to move forward when they don't have the tools that I had.
I see.
And that's why I wanted to share the stories. And also some really strange happened a little bit, like when she was in hospital, we decided to open a Facebook group because it was a bit too much to repeat event. You know, everybody was ringing and asking what's happened or this and that. And so we opened a little Facebook group where one of my friends would just put an update, so we didn't have to deal with anything. So I stayed in hospital for 12 days. I didn't come home at all. So, and then over 2 days, this group became 15,000 people.
Wow.
Which was from all over the place, whatever background, whatever language, whatever religion, whatever place. She just brought 15,000 people that she didn't even know. Wow. to do good things, good deed for her, just to see if we could shift something and help her and support her, and just like, so that also saw that bit something, you know, unusual. Especially she was 20, she had friends, but not 15,000 people. And then we decided also to raise money, and the day before that she was rushed into hospital, she talked about we were just having fun and playing and just talking, like, you know, daydreaming, and say, like, if we won the lottery, what would we do with the money? And then the first thing she said, I'll buy an ambulance. So, and then unfortunately the following day she was in the ambulance. So when she was in the hospital and we opened this Facebook group and we saw there's so many people got attracted by, you know, wanted to help, we opened a fundraising page to actually buy an ambulance. And we did, and the ambulance is up and running in Northwest London, free of charge, under charity. And we raised £55,000, and the ambulance is a proper fitted ambulance with every equipment, and is saving life. So from her life in the physical world, for her losing her life in the physical world, we in the this ambulance is actually saving. I can't even tell you how many lives. We get a report every year, and especially now with the virus, usually the ambulance was used about once, twice, or 3 times a day, and now it was, I don't even know how many times it's been used. And they sometimes send me a few stories, and it is, as much as I would have loved to have my daughter ride with me and see her carry on her journey in the physical world, knowing that, we're saving life in a different way, that is in itself a good thing. So that's why I wanted to write a book. Is as dark as something can be, there's a way of turning things around, and yeah.
I'll ask you about the book in a minute in more details. Can you please, if we can just go back a bit, I believe this is something, it's the worst nightmare of every parent, yeah? But I believe that unless you happen to be in the situation, you have no idea how you react, how you feel. Is this true that once it happened, that I heard from other moms who went through something, they were surprised by their own emotions. Can you please describe how you felt?
So, it's not something that you want. It's not something you can think that it will ever happen, and you don't want to think about it because otherwise you wouldn't be able to, to sleep. I think it's undescribable. It's not something. It's you expect to go to the funeral of your grandparents, but you don't expect to go to the funeral of your own daughter. And that's something that's So, but I have to accept that this was her journey. And someone once said to me, when you walk into a garden, and if you had to pick one flower, which one would you go for? And you go for the most beautiful one. You're attracted to that is the flower that you would go when you go and walk into a garden. And that's what happened. She was picked, and for a different journey and different, I always feel that I don't know the end of the story, and this is why I have to accept that this is the way that she was 20 years in the physical world, and now she's carrying on a journey in a non-physical world. Doesn't stop me to close my eyes and feel her. Doesn't stop me to have all the memories. The thing that's changed is that I'm spending much more time with my kids. I create memories even more, and as much as I enjoyed before, I am even more grateful now for every single day that I have with my children. So before I used to do lots of hours, work a lot of hours, and then when my daughter passed away, I decided I'm no longer taking anyone after school hours or before school hours, and I didn't. All my clients nearly sort of went like hardly any, because majority of my clients are children. So and then gradually people came back, and then gradually they knew that it was important to work on the well-being of the child. It's not forever, it's just a few sessions. And then gradually things came back, and then I kept my weekends and my late hours work I wasn't doing anymore, and or if I needed to do it, then I would know that they've been busy or something. So it's adjusting. It's really adjusting and putting priority right. When I hear mum now obviously with the virus it's different because now people are not taking their kids to school. But when you think about it, probably a lot of them, without even thinking, are complaining about the stress of the rota of driving the kids to school. But it is a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to take your child to school or to a play or to go swimming or to go on holiday. And this is what we have to realize. We have to realize what we have. And yeah. So and when you look at more of the gratefulness, and when you're more grateful and things happen, you realize what you have, what you know. So, but it's not easy to sing like that. It takes a lot of work on yourself to be able to talk about a story without having to burst into tears. I run a program for on loss, for people who lost. Could be, it could be a child, could be an adult, could be a pet, any type of loss. And when I run the program, when people want to share a story, obviously there's full of emotion comes up, and it shows that it hasn't been dealt with. When you get to the point where you can tell your story and you can still be you, then you know that you actually have done a lot of healing on yourself. But it doesn't mean that when a birthday comes up, or it doesn't mean that when we celebrate, any, Easter or anything, doesn't mean the family reunion doesn't mean that suddenly I don't feel sad or I want to cry. And it's perfectly normal. And every story is different, and every person reacts differently. And that's something that people need to acknowledge. But it's how you're actually going to get up and how you're actually going to deal with this. That is important, is not to stay down, to have the tools to be able to get up again. That is a big difference.
Of course.
So,
can I ask, how did her sister cope? How did they cope?
But they were all in different ages. At the time, one was 8, the other one 13, and 17 and 18.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all different stages. Some of them were, like A level at the time. I think one was in doing exams or entering the exams stage, so missed all the revisions. And so we have to acknowledge each one, and each one has a different experience, and each one had a different help. So they tried different things, and whatever helped them, they went for. And it's a process. It doesn't mean anyway. All of us, as things changes, we always need a bit of help. We always need someone to guide you and to help you and support you and to coach you. So so that's what some, so some went for art therapy, some went for more talk therapy, someone was EFT, a whole range of things. So obviously I can help them too, but they needed their own space, they needed their own, so that's and look, there's it's a process. It's not we went to we had family therapy also, and sometimes, unfortunately, that's why I don't like the word therapist, but sometimes they can be quite insensitive and say things that's like, but time doesn't, I don't like when people said time is a healer. Time is not a healer. Time is not a healer. You just adjust. The first time you celebrate your first birthday without your daughter, but that is different. So gradually you know that that's what it is, and you have to adjust. It doesn't mean that the missing part of the person is better, And some people, if somebody turns around to you and say, "Oh, it's been X amount of years, but now you should get over it, or you should be better," that is not.
People say that to you.
That's not. That is not the thing to say. It's not something that people. It's something that happened. It's always going to be there, but I didn't want I didn't want it to define me, and I didn't want to define my daughters. I want them to still be able to have their journey. I didn't want this to stop them carry on, doing what they're supposed to do, and that's what was important. So yeah, and my husband too. Everybody has their own journey, and everybody's working on themselves. Some on a slower pace, and some on a faster pace. With grief, there are so many different stages that you need to acknowledge, but people you do need help. You need to be able to move forward. So
can I ask you, you mentioned bleed in the brain. That's what it was. Do they know what caused it? Or
no, it was just a tiny bleed in the brain. Nothing, and apparently a lot of people can have, but it's just but that wasn't really the problem at the end. It was more that she caught pneumonia in hospital. So that was what made it. And that was, but at the end of the day, if that's what was meant to be, that's what was meant to be.
Yeah.
That's that's the thing. But there's one thing that I really want people to know is that when you're so down and when things like hits you out of nowhere, or suddenly you don't expect things, acknowledge that, okay, I'm down, this is how I feel at the moment. Just acknowledge it, don't fight it. But as long as you know that when, as dark as it is, that you can actually turn the light on. There is a switch and you can turn it back on. You can actually go back up and turn that switch on, and then start your journey back up. So that's what's really important, is really to know that you can, as when you crash down, you can still have the and that's the problem. People think that when they crash down, they stay in a state of mind, and they don't know how to get out. They just think that and it doesn't have to be complicated. It could be a simple thing. It could be just watching a YouTube video that makes you laugh, just to start moving, just to start moving the energy inside. Could be lots of different things. So yeah, but
it must, can't even imagine how much strength it takes. But I think that when you happen to be in such situation, then being strong is the only option you have. Like someone said once, that you just, there's no other option. Is that how you felt?
There is no I always have this sort of thing that I don't give up. I never give up on anything. So I didn't give up on my daughter when they told me that she was going to die there and then. We fighted to write it until we could, with treatment and everything that needed to happen. So yeah, you sort of like, I didn't know that I could go for, I think I did 3 days with no sleep. Is something, and when you think about it in a day-to-day life, by midnight you get tired, or you're like, how do I manage no sleep for 3 days and still keep going? I have no idea. You do, your body is under so much stress and fighting that you don't even know what the time is, you just keep going until you try to find a solution. So yeah, you do, especially I think as a mum, this is your child, so you will do everything. And yeah, it was complicated, but that's, at the end of the day, we didn't get what pushing. That was her journey. We can't change that.
Was she conscious during those 12 days?
At the beginning, yes, but then in hospital they put you in. They always use to work on patient. They usually use drugs to make you. So gradually, no, but the whole story is in the book, and there was a different way of communicating with her, which was very strange. But I leave that into reading the book.
Let's talk about the book then. Yeah. Now it's good time to connect that. So it's called Love, Life, Liora.
Yeah.
So
how to move forward when entering the world. There you are. Yep. Yeah, that's the book. So the book has a story.
Sorry, if you can tell us, please, how did this idea occur to you to write this book? Yeah. So what was behind the story, and what we can expect?
So the book the idea was to put the whole story together instead of having bits and pieces. Also, some of my daughters were at the hospital, some were, and some. It's only afterwards, even when I realized that. Then when they read it, it's like, oh, I didn't know this happened. I didn't know that was like this. So I wanted to put things together. I think I wanted to put things together in my own mind. I also saw that if I do it, it would be a way also to heal. It will be for me, for my husband, for the kids, to read the story, and I just wanted to. I knew there was much more to it, so I felt I needed to share, because people kept saying, "Oh, you're so inspiring! Oh, you're so inspiring!" And I didn't see myself like this. So I sort of like, okay, why are they saying this? Why are they actually seeing me like this? I don't think I am. And then my friend saying, well, if it would be me, I would completely be stuck in my room. I wouldn't get out. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that. And then it's sort of like having, to hear all the people what I was saying, all my friends. I said, okay, so maybe I should just put it all together. And at the time, actually, my daughter was also writing a book. She was writing a book about for children. She's written a calendar for teenager, a positive calendar for teenagers, and she was writing a book for children, which I still have in pieces, and I will one day put it together. That's another project. But so I thought, okay, so I started writing the story. I changed, I adapted. At first, I put every single fact, and then I obviously went back and then put what I wanted to write and what I was comfortable to write, and then the story sort of unfolded. But I didn't want to just be a book just with a story as that story. I wanted to be also, I wanted people to know how you can turn something so unthinkable and unbearable and probably the worst nightmare of anyone into still something positive. So, and that's why it became like a sort of a DIY self-help book. And the way I've written it is like, I can't hide the fact that the first part of the book is terrible, sad. So if people are not prepared to read the first part because they don't want to deal with with the loss, because they're also experiencing loss, then they can go straight into either the grieving chapter, where they can start having some help and how to work on their grieving, or how to start dealing with the grieving process, or they can go straight into how to move forward, and then they can follow the steps. The book is very much like you can see, like I'll show you if you can see. Yeah, you can see like this exercise in the book. So you can write in a book. It's really like, so it's not like a book that you would just well, from what people from the reviews and what people are saying, like once they touch the book, they can't put it down. They have to read it in one go, and then they just keep taking it back, answering the questions, what I put down. It's very much like helping people to find their life purpose, find what they're good at, what they want to do, how they can use their life to the maximum if they want to, how they can move forward when something unthinkable happen. It's not just about grieving a person. It could be losing a job, losing a pet, losing something that's important for a person. So it's not just it's not just losing a child. I didn't want to do a book on grieving because I didn't want to make it so heavy. I wanted to I wanted the book to be uplifting. So that's what I wanted to do. So can we
go? Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah. And the strange thing is that this book was ready about a year ago, and just about the editing, we just had to few things with publishing, adjusting, and just a few things. So, and then I left it a bit, and then when the book was ready, it was basically 2 days before London got locked down. And I thought that was really strange, because when the book was ready a year ago and then it wasn't quite right, and so I'm going to trust my instinct. If it's not meant to be now, there's going to be a right time for it. And literally, the book started being printed, and the book is called How to Move Forward When the Unthinkable Happen. And 2 days later, London got completely locked down, so the printing had to stop. And then that's why it was available on the Kindle first, and then the hard copy was later. But I just thought, right, well, that's why now I know why the year before it wasn't ready, is because that was the right time for the book to come out. So sometimes when things happen, you don't know why, but you just have to trust that there's a bigger end that we don't know. And the journey for the book also was because people kept on saying, oh, when is the book coming out? When is it coming out? And it's like, well, it's ready, but it's not. And then suddenly it just, and that's when it happened. That's why, So
where can people buy it?
So on Amazon at the moment, because of the lockdown, it's not being in a shop. So at the moment it's available in Amazon UK and Amazon USA. So you can get it on a Kindle version, or you can get it in a hard copy.
Can I ask you, I would like to talk a bit about Liora as well. If you can tell us what she was like.
So Liora was very bubbly, always chatty. If she used to love to go to Starbucks, and she wouldn't just get a coffee. She would actually talk to whoever would serve her, start understanding and asking questions about her life, and then she would start advising them. All the stuff when they find out, when they saw it on Facebook, also send me messages. She transformed their life just by chatting. Some of them decided to go back to study, and some of them, there was a whole range. People used to just open up and talk to her about their problem, and she was just like always wanted to help. She was also the youngest qualified holistic therapist in the UK. So she also liked working in the type of work that I worked in. So she liked helping people, and but always very smiley, bubbly, and that's what she's. And that's why even when we had a funeral, it was raining all the way on the day that we drove, and I knew that it would stop. I knew that the sunshine would actually come out, and I said, I'm not going to take an umbrella. I know it's going to stop. And it was pouring and pouring when we drove there. And the minute we arrived there, it stopped. And the minute when we had the funeral, everybody noticed. She attracted more than 1,000 people at the funeral, and everybody noticed that the minute that we started doing the ceremony, that the sunshine came out like so bright, and people even who were not aware that Liora means light, it was like that, they even noticed it. And the minute that the ceremony finished and we were on the way back, that was it. It started raining again, and every time it happens, the sun comes out just at that specific time. So that really describes always very friendly, very bubbly, and always wanted to listen and help other people. So, and that's what we did.
I can actually sense that from the pictures I saw. Exactly, this is the impression I had when I saw her. Such an amazing energy.
So, and this is what we did, by doing the ambulance. That's what she carries on. That's what light carries on. She's still helping.
Amazing.
So that's what we wanted to carry on. So and she is carrying on her journey, but a different journey. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
What else? I'm just thinking. I had something in my head just now, and I think it just went. Oh, I know. I have two last questions.
That's okay.
You partially answered them already, but what would you advise, or what is your message to moms who go through something similar?
So that it's perfectly okay to crash down. Really, it's perfectly okay to scream, to want to smash something, to whatever reaction you have. But that that even in the darkest moment, there is at the end of the tunnel, there is a light, and that you will come out of that tunnel, and that you can turn the light on whenever you're ready. And if you need help, then get the help that you need. Don't think that getting help means that there is something not right. We can't do everything ourselves. So, but just turn the light on. Yeah, don't wait so long, because if you have other children, they need you. So you need to be in a good place in order to help them. I'm so blessed. I'm very blessed to have other children, and I met people who unfortunately it was their only child, and then it was very difficult, and they said, "Oh, why? How do I carry on?" So we've been giving life, and while we are on this planet Earth, we have to do whatever we need to do to have a purpose. And if we can change it, even even if you can put a smile on somebody's face, that
Mm.
that will, you've
Absolutely.
done already something for the day.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and that's
Yeah.
what I would say.
It seems so small, but it's big.
Yeah,
Can
yeah,
fix someone else's life.
yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's what Liora used to do always, when we used to go to coffee or restaurant or anything, always acknowledge, or walking past, when you go to a shopping center and you see somebody, doing the cleaning, and just like always acknowledging or saying hi, or thank you very much for cleaning, or,
Mm.
always this acknowledgement. So, and, acknowledging people and being there for them, that is what you can do. So,
Being kind.
yeah, yeah, so that's what I would say. Just, and you have to be kind to yourself too. You have to understand that you've gone through so much, and take a deep breath, just, and then start looking at how you can help yourself. Because at the end of the day, you're the only one who can help yourself. In that sense, you're the only one who has the power to say, yes, okay, from today, I decide to carry on living, or I decide to do this or that. And then obviously you can get guidance, you can go and get help with whoever you want to go and see, but you have to make that decision too. You have to, be uplifting. But I also want people to know that it's perfectly okay to crash down. It's
so powerful
perfectly,
and important. Yeah. To
yeah,
point that out.
it's really important that it's a bit like a roller coaster. You go down and you go back up, and you go down and you go up. Same thing with any business. There's never any business going like this all the time. It will crash down and it'll go back higher. But if you tell yourself that every time you crash down is to go higher, then the crashing down is not as bad as it is. Yeah. Obviously, for a business, when you lose chance, then you can't get lower than that. But you can still go up in that sense.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
But and that's what it is understanding that we are human being, and part of what makes us a human being is having emotions. So it's perfectly normal that in one day we can wake up and feel really happy, and then you hear something and then you feel a bit down, and then we go up and down. But it's how we can release the emotions that trap in the body that are, such as anger, grief, resentment, sadness, how we release them, and how you can turn them into allowing yourself to still be happy, allowing yourself to still enjoy yourself. I mean, when it's Leora's birthday, we make a cake, we celebrate her birthday. This year, when if you can go out, and we go to the restaurant and then we even ask, for a candle and something, and then obviously it's a bit strange. You think like, whose birthday, and like we don't want to explain it, we say happy birthday, but do whatever feels right for you. It doesn't mean that it feels right for everyone in the family, but just do whatever feels right for you, not what people say. Just do what's important, what's in your heart, and what you can do. That's what I would say. So that's why. That's the reason why I wrote a book. And the same in the book there is, if I can find it just now, but there is actually that a quote about turning the light on that I put in my book too. But it's literally, yeah, I put in my book. That was when one of my children went to see someone for help, and on the wall it was on, and I just found the quotes from Albert. So he says, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if only one remembers to turn on the light. So that is powerful. And that's in. So yeah. So you can see it here. I don't know if you can see it.
Can you move it a bit?
Let me see if I can.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's like
that. Yeah, the light is like that's it. And Liora used to be an artist too, so she can she did some drawings. So that big paintings. So, and they're all in the book. I mean, some of them are in the book. So and I found a really nice publisher who will allow me to put all the pictures that I wanted in the book, and he also had his own story, so it was a connection there. So it's quite nice to give it to someone who had also a story. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lauren. It's
no, thank you very much for
amazing. Your strength is just amazing. I don't know how you do it. It's just
the how is
I have no words.
Probably the how is probably because I have all the tools. I work on myself. I know how to deal with emotions. Doesn't mean that I don't cry. Doesn't mean that I don't. I'm just a human being like everybody else. But I know when it's time to step back. I know when it's time that I need to work more on myself. I know when things. I know when things are not quite right. That like I just need to take a step back and say, okay, I just need to acknowledge it and then work more on myself or change things around. So there's a lot of things that you can do, even in a house or anything that you can just uplift you. So and there's no time limit. People don't need to be pressurized, and people don't need to be judged on how they deal with whatever situation they have to deal with their own ways. But sometimes, obviously, if you're really down and you can't see that you're so down, you obviously need someone to take your hand and show you that way, and then you can just carry on. That's why, and that was what I've written a book. It's when I read the reviews on Amazon, it's quite. There's one review who really struck me because the book is not for bereavement. Obviously, there is loss, but one review says the best bereavement book that you will ever read, which is quite strange for me because I didn't see my book as a bereavement. I saw it as someone but that's what it did help. That's what it did for and it's funny how you write a book, you don't see it like that because you're so into it. You don't see it like how.
Exactly.
So, but it's obviously doing what the book is meant to be doing. But
it will always bring something else to other people. So it's amazing, amazing books as well.
Yeah,
there is much more into them than we intended originally.
Yeah. So I'd never even saw it like this. I would just, when you're so into the book and you're so into the story, and obviously it was really hard for me to reread the story each time to edit it and everything, and that's why it took us a long time because I didn't. Sometimes I know I don't want to read it again, and it's a very nice testimonial. But I didn't even see it like that. I didn't even. It was not even intention to be, a good book for bereavement. Intention was to share my story because people kept on saying that I'm inspiring, and I didn't see it like that. I just wanted to share what I knew and how I could sort of work and help myself and move forward. That was why it was. And it was also probably to declutter my mind, instead of having everything in my mind and all the story just is there. And if someone even, And then now I didn't even realize there is quite a lot of my friends who read the book and are coming up saying, "Oh, I didn't even realize how much you because it didn't even occur to me. I don't know what they knew. I don't know what they thought or what's And then they come back to me and said, "Oh, I didn't even realize that's what was happening." So sometimes you don't think you're so into your own story that you don't realize what people think or what they actually thought or So it was quite nice to just to actually get their reaction too. So
absolutely.
So I'm glad that it was a process. It wasn't easy, that's for sure. But I'm glad that it's finally in my hands, and so finally got the book, and
I'm sure it will help more people than it's for, because like you said, so many moms feel stressed about things that don't really matter. I'm the same sometimes, everyone is just humans, but it's stories like that help us realize what really matters. It's like I see many moms, including myself once, I don't do it anymore, but I used to feel very upset about my children growing, if you know what I mean. I was like, I want them to be this small forever. And I was really upset when I saw them progressing. But then I realized, are you crazy? Like, how many moms would give anything or everything to see their children grow? Yeah. So it's all about mindset. And I think the less problem.
It is about mindset.
Yeah. The less problem.
I mean, I can say I'm privileged that I had my daughter for 20 years and I had the best close relationship with her. We understood each other. We were so close to each other. And, you know, at least I had 20 years with her. I have a friend of mine, unfortunately, I think it was a year later, her daughter passed away at age 6. So every story is different, but even if the darkest place, you can actually see, like even now with the virus, we can turn around and realize how privileged we were to be with her for 12 days, not even leaving the hospital, in intensive care, allowing us to be there, all of us to be there with her. And how privileged, that was a privilege, because now with the virus, no one is allowed to be with anyone.
Yeah.
And even the funeral, we were privileged. We had over 1,000 people who came for the funeral. Now, people having a funeral, they're not even allowed to be there. They had to do it on Zoom. So even that we were giving. And I can turn around and say, I'm so grateful that my daughter passed away the year that she passed away, and not, you know, in 2020 when the virus is out, because that is even harder.
Of course.
It's so hard that if you know, I was privileged to be able to speak to the doctors, to see how we could help and be there the whole time. We didn't leave up whatsoever, not even a minute. We were always there, and this is what's been taken. This, you know, and it's going to be even harder. I have people calling me saying I couldn't be there for my mum or my friends or my father or mother, or I wasn't even allowed to be there. They were on their own, and then not even the funeral, or they couldn't fly out, or like so many things that we didn't even think about it. You know, who would have thought that even going to a funeral could be limited?
Yeah.
No one thought about it. We didn't even think. So we were taking, even just walking out of your house, we didn't think it could have been limited.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is why now is telling us that like everything we do, it's, you know, it's really being grateful. We've got to be grateful that if we can go into, if we want to walk into a shop and go shopping, you know, anything that we took, just taking the kids to school, you know.
Yeah.
So
thank you so much for helping us realize that we need this reminder sometimes.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you so much, Lauren, for.
No, you're welcome. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for inviting me.
And, you are amazing. I hope.
No, I'm just me. I'm just me. I'm just trying to make a difference to, you know, for people to know that there is help out there that they can get. And so yeah. And
so we will share all the links for Lauren's book and her work in the description. So if you wanted to get in touch with Lauren, then you can contact her directly. So thanks a lot again. Have a lovely day.
Thank you very much for having me. Thanks.
See you soon, hopefully.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.